That's Mike Mabuyakulu, KwaZulu-Natal's MEC for Economic Development and Tourism, talking to Peter Ndoro of local sister television station about how the city will cope and benefit as it begins to host the climate change conference next week. COP17 will also have a variety of organizations and businesses concerned with climate change. One such company is Spintelligent, the organizer of groundbreaking energy industry forums such as Africa Utility Week, Hydropower Africa, the East Africa Power Industry Convention, and the West Africa Power Convention. Now, to tell us more about what this company's role will be at the Climate Change Conference, we're joined on the line by Managing Director Devi Paulsen. Devi, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Zina, and good morning to all your listeners.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. Tell us a bit about Spintelligent. What is it that you guys actually do?
Well, we're part of a global group called Clarion, and we've established ourselves as a key strategic information provider to the global water and energy sectors. We've been around for 15 years, and I think we've played a really big part in bringing stakeholders together at these high-level events. Then they take place all over the African continent, and these stakeholders don't traditionally talk to each other. So what we're trying to do is connect people from the private and the public sector to talk about the issues around water and energy.
Now, apparently Spintelligent is likely to have a strong presence at COP17. What exactly is your role and contribution there?
Well, we look at a key statistic. 41% of global energy-related carbon dioxide emissions come from the electricity sector. And the statistic in South Africa is 50%. And it's going to be a really big challenge, especially in developing countries in our continent, to cut these emissions while trying to maintain economic development and to sustain the social benefits that are provided by services such as electricity. But there is a lot of need for new investment in this industry, so that we see this as a fantastic opportunity. We want to ensure that COP17 doesn't just become another talk shop, that we continue these dialogues and this action planning year-round. And we're going to do this via our print and digital publications like ESI Africa magazine, at some of our trade shows like African Utility Week, which takes place in Johannesburg next year. And then we host a series of infrastructure conferences in Africa called iPad, and those are hosted in DRC, Angola, and West Africa.
Now, also you're encouraging a lot of investment in terms of renewable energy, and a lot of talk about renewable energy. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Mm-hmm. Africa's power infrastructure delivers only a fraction of the services found elsewhere in the developing world. So, for example, 48 of the sub-Saharan African countries that constitute about 800 million people generate roughly the same amount of power as Spain does, which is only 45 million people. And, Africa is blessed with a lot of renewable energy resources, and we think there's a lot of opportunities to develop these. It's estimated that by 2030, about 21 trillion rand is going to be needed for infrastructure development, and we believe this highlights and presents a significant opportunity to direct investment towards low-carbon technologies such as renewable energies. There are alternatives to what we're doing, and the power and water sectors need to be prepare themselves to change their paradigm and how they're approaching the generation or the distribution of water and electricity. Power and water are no longer services that are just given. They're resources that we're all consuming at an alarming rate. So it's really important that governments and utilities and everybody doesn't just ring-fence discussions, that we're all involved in being involved in taking part in trying to reduce climate change.
Now, it's also said that energy industry is not for the faint-hearted. Is that something that you agree with?
Absolutely. The sector's changing a lot. We're going to be seeing a lot more investment in the sector, and there are going to be a lot of knocks along the way. As we develop new technologies, it's becoming a very technology-driven industry. We're going to have to be brave, and we're going to have to be pioneering, and we need visionaries to be part of the sector and help drive the changes that are needed.
What's your take on how COP17 is going to pan out?
It's interesting. It's a very good question. I mean, we have a couple of outcomes that we'd like to see. Besides being able to see Angelina Jolie and Leonardo DiCaprio, we are hoping that from our sector's perspective that we'll, the world's going to need to double today's power generation to meet demand, and we in the power sector have a very strong opportunity to take a lead in combating climate change. But we can't do this alone. It's going to be through combined efforts, and and we need to all work towards creating a low-carbon, sustainable energy future. And forums like COP17 and African Utility Week will really highlight these issues. There needs to be visibility, there needs to be accountability, and we have to be able to track our changes. Secondly, the big driver for COP17 is that the Kyoto Protocol reaches its sell-by date in 2012. Although processes have been underway to replace it with a new binding agreement since 2007, I think it's a really great opportunity for South Africa or Africa to ensure that a solid agreement is put on and a solid plan is put forward so that for 2012 we can move forward.
Do you think South Africa is a good place for COP17?
Absolutely. I think we are making some really good inroads, especially in the renewable energy sector. I know that there's been a lot of press about, our very large emissions of greenhouse gases recently. But I think some very good steps are being made. And I think, again, because we're a new economy, or the continent is a new economy, we can actually start off well and right. And I think that's going to be very exciting for us.
All right. Well, Devi, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you at COP17 because we'll be down there as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Devi Paulsen.
Bye.
That's Devi Paulsen, Managing Director of Spintelligent, a publisher and conference organizer in the energy, utilities and water sectors. As you heard, Spintelligent will have a strong presence at the conference in Durban, which starts on Monday. It's now time for Tapestry, our regular arts and culture feature.